Sorry. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our fourth episode of the Women in Gaming Monthly Show.
Yeah.
Let's go and do a quick round of introductions. I am Catarina. I'm a program manager on Xbox Live. And today we have Laura here. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a UX tools designer at 343 Industries.
Excellent. Makers of course, Halo and all of the goodness that comes from that. My name is Kate Yeager, and I am a senior producer and host over here on the Mixer Original Programming team. And we are very excited to have you, Laura, today, because I know that 343 is always a busy place, so we appreciate you taking time out of your busy, busy week.
It's really good to be here. 343 is a really big supporter of women in gaming, so I'm proud to be the representative that can be here today.
And you have so many amazing women working at 343.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah, it's a great group.
Yes, we do.
So we're going to talk about that later. For now, thank you so much for tuning in again. We've been having a blast hosting this show here on Mixer, and I hope you are enjoying yourselves as well as we go along for this ride. So how this show works, we're going to give you a short rundown of how everything that is going to happen for the next hour. So this is a monthly live stream that we do to highlight the amazing things that the Women in Gaming group is doing here at Xbox, and also to talk about the gaming industry in general, what games we're playing. And it's honestly, it's just like 1 hour for us to chill and hang out with you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course, now we have what's in store today. Here is basically how the show works, and let's throw up that lovely graphic that should be showing us exactly what is coming down. Which is, we'll start to talk about, those are the graphics. Look at them apples. First, we'll start with currently playing. These are the games that we currently have in our consoles, on our PCs, and of course in our Switches. I don't know what to go there. And then, of course, we've also got gameplay. Today we're going to be playing Hue, which is a fantastic Xbox Game Pass title. And during that time, we actually get to have a conversation with this lovely lady over here, pick your brain and find out your history behind, your time in gaming, as well as any particular ideas and tips and tricks that you could give to the aspiring women in gaming as well.
Sounds like a good time.
And then we have a few regular segments that we do here as well. So we have our Snap segment where we do give shout outs to people who are doing great things in the gaming industry and or here at Xbox. Then we do talk about game overs, which are not so good things that happened during this past month in our industry. And then obviously we have to end up on a high note. So we talk about our one-ups. So it's like awesome things that have happened in the industry in the past month. So obviously you can engage with us, so feel free to participate and ask questions in the chat. We will pick the best ones to answer, so be nice.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and remember, we do obviously participate in chat. If you're ever wondering why we're looking down here, it's because we're looking at what you guys are saying, and we appreciate what you guys say and want to interact with you guys this hour as well. So.
Yep. And so now we are going to our currently playing segment.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Look at that graphic. Sorry, I'm so enamored with it.
We do have amazing graphics. So.
We do. You're not wrong.
In the currently playing segment, we talk about the games that we've been currently playing.
I was going to say, Kat, let's start with you. What's got you excited? You are coming into, you're about to go on a nice big trip tomorrow to Portugal, back home for the holidays. What have you been playing in your not so copious spare time?
Yep. So I haven't had a lot of spare time. So when I do, I really need to destroy people online. So I jump into Halo MCC and I've been playing Halo 3 there, which is a lot of fun. I
nice
love
blast from the past.
I know. And I used to love playing Halo 3. I used to compete, and it's just bringing all those amazing memories and playing with friends. So it's been a blast. And then I have been traveling a lot, and tomorrow I do have a 20-hour plane ride that I'm not particularly looking forward, although I'm looking forward to go home and see my family and friends. It's been a year. But I am also playing Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, which is so cute. It's the cutest game probably I've ever played, which is also a blast to the past because it's the exact same thing as Pokemon Yellow back in the day. It's been fun.
Nice. Excellent. Laura, over to you.
Well, speaking of blasts from the past, I've been spending an awful lot of time playing Spyro, the Reignited trilogy right now. I'm still in the first round. I have a 3-year-old who keeps stealing the controller from me because he wants to watch the purple dragon
You're
fly.
raising a gamer.
Oh yeah. My 1-year-old holds a bright pink controller as well and pretends that she is playing. So like we have a picture of all 4 of us in our family holding the controller, even though only one of us is actually controlling Spyro. My kids don't know that.
Who needs to?
Oh yeah, and their commentary is great. Anytime we accidentally hit the water, of course Spyro drowns in the water. My son will look at my husband right in the eye and go, "Dad, stop playing around. You have bad guys to be. Like, don't play in the water, Dad."
I just like how very he's like, no, this is the way you do things.
Oh yes.
Don't get in my way.
Oh yes, and he's got the superhero quips because the other game we've been playing is Spider-Man. So Spider-Man, of course, has all of these great comebacks, and they get extremely corny. So we were playing Spyro one day and knocked a bad guy into the water, and my son said, "You need a water break." Oh my gosh!
Wow.
So I am raising a superhero gaming nerd, and I'm extremely proud of it.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you. Well, I'll tell you, mine is really boring, but it's not boring. It's Forza Horizon 4. I feel like I say it every single time I'm on this show. It's just that, sorry, I've also got a piece of hair that just left. Here's the thing. Forza Horizon 4, with all of the dynamic weather shifting and the seasons changing and everything, it feels like every time there's always something new to do. Always a new car to find in a barn, or a new barn find, always a new car pack to unlock, always new challenges to go for. And so quite honestly, I have just been, it's that game that you sort of look up after 3 hours and go, oh, that just happened, didn't it? Oh my, how long have I been here? What time is it? Oh Lord. And of course, very soon they're going to be dropping a huge update with, I think it's called Fantasy Island, Fortune Island, somebody's island. It's an island. It doesn't matter. The point is that it's going to be, it's awesome. They're doing a lot of great stuff. Mixer.com/Forza Horizon, or excuse me, Forza Motorsport 7. I think is how that one works. Anyway, they are doing some fantastic stuff, and I really can't wait for the update. Fortune Island. That's what it's called. Fortune Island. Because I don't know. Why not? Next time you're going to see it, it's going to be Forza Horizon and Battle Royale.
I think you've been saying that you've been playing Forza Horizon for as long as this show exists.
You know what? You're not wrong. I can't get enough. Sorry, not sorry. My dexterity is not good enough to play with you two, but I will say that I have a sick-sad love affair with the Forza Motorsport, the Forza series in general, and Horizon being open world and being from Britain. It's just like, forget about it.
And Forza Horizon just won a prize.
They did. In
Awards.
fact, best racing/sports game.
Yep.
Which was awesome. Darn straight.
And very well deserved.
Very well deserved.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's all for what we are playing. We're gonna jump to be playing Hugh. So wanna grab the controller? Yay. Okay. And so here we're literally just playing games and talking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we would love, I think our viewers already know me and Kate, so we would love to get to know you.
Okay,
Laura.
that sounds. No, go back. There we go.
There.
Retry. All right.
Resume.
So do you want to just talk a little bit about this game?
Yeah. This already looks amazing.
Oh my goodness. So I am an absolutely colorful person. My leggings right now are just monochromatic green, but I do have a reputation in my office for wearing extremely bright and colorful clothing pretty much all the time.
Like that.
And so this is very similar to Limbo, which was really popular a while back. However, it's got a much more bright and colorful spin to it.
Joey Grips, by the way, just said, this is a cool game. Reminds me of Limbo. We understand. It totally does.
Oh my goodness. There's times when you hit the chains and they fling back and forth and you think you're playing Limbo again. But this one's a little bit more of a kind of a beautiful story. It plays with the color spectrum, and you can travel basically through the color spectrum and change the obstacles around you based off of what color you change the background.
And yeah, I was just saying, and just an FYI, Joey down in chat said he wants it. Where I will say that it is actually on Xbox Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
Subtle plug. Don't even care because you get a lot of games, including you. Go for it, Laura.
But yeah, that's actually how I found it. I was looking through Xbox Game Pass, and I needed something to play that I could pick up every now and then when I had a few spare minutes.
For sure.
but yeah, I have been trying to get around to this game for forever, and once I heard about being on this stream, I was
You're
like,
like,
all right, excuse
That's
done.
it.
So that's been actually a story that we've heard multiple times around Game Pass, how it is such a great way to discover amazing games that are out there and that you might have not like either know about them or might not have bought them. And Game Pass does bring that opportunity of just like discovering new games.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Actually, that's the same way. Like I've played through this game, not in its entirety, but I think I was almost at the end, and that was exactly how I discovered it as well. I was just browsing through Game Pass of like, I need games to play, and this one caught my eye, and it was such a wonderful experience, and the soundtrack on this game is
I can hear it a little bit. And just from the visual perspective at all, this is such an unusual, the Limbo, obviously there's definitely a feeling there, but I will say that those two games alone are just so different in so many ways, just from a purely visual standpoint. And while still utilizing some of those, what are the words that I'm trying to use? Some of those physics that are actually relatively elementary. But this looks...
Yeah, it's the concept of it is so simple, but the problems that you get to solve in the puzzles are quite intricate. As soon as I get to one where I can show you about changing the colors to get through, it gradually gets more and more complicated. So the first color you get is blue, the next color you get is purple, and then you get orange. So like right now, I can't walk past this rock.
Sure.
And you can see there's a red obstacle and an orange obstacle. And so I have to go get the various colors to change the backgrounds. So those items just change, they blend into the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I walk right through them. But the puzzles get really complicated when they start combining the different colors and you have to change mid-jump.
Yeah.
But in general, I love the colors of this game. I love the learning mechanics that they use in this game.
I like that.
And the teaching and the reinforcement methods, but that just may be the UX designer in me.
So
well,
let's
use that.
Speaking of that, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you do at 343 and with Halo and how you actually got to where you are?
Oh, yeah. So right now I am a UX designer on tools for Halo, which tools it's a very interesting field because especially when it comes to usability, that's relatively young.
Yeah.
And so I have to use all of my background in UX with internal customers at 343 because we have a lot of our own proprietary tools, just like a lot of other studios do. It's very difficult to both play.
I can play while you talk.
Okay.
Or I can play whatever works.
And so what I tend to do on the day-to-day basis is I talk with pretty much everyone who works in the studio and find out where their pain points are. And do a lot of research and iteration to try to make the tools easy enough to use that their work week is just much more enjoyable and less frustrating.
More efficient in what they do, right? Trying to get things done.
More efficient, just less frustrating what they expect. And so I guess before I worked in tools at 343, I've been working at Epic Games as a UX designer on Paragon. And before that, I was a researcher for them. So on a lot of their various tools and other titles, including Paragon. Paragon was one of them. But I got into the games industry because I was a UX designer for Microsoft Surface Tables at one point in time.
Oh, those!
Yeah, started Microsoft, and I'm all the way back around.
There it is.
But yeah, okay. I guess I'm going backwards. Let's just start at the beginning.
That sounds
forward. I've told you this story before, that I had gotten a degree in industrial design and graduated during the recession, so there just weren't a whole lot of jobs around. And so I won a bet with my part-time boss, because I was working on campus part-time doing stuff for graphic design for the Microsoft Surface Tables. I won a bet after telling my boss and her boss that they didn't need a graphic designer, they needed a UX designer, because a UX designer is required for more of these intricate interactions. More graphic designers now are getting involved in that, but sometimes focusing on the interaction takes away from their ability to do the art.
True.
It works. Some people, there are unicorns out there who can do both, and I applaud you. You're amazing. But I am not one of them. I can either spend all my time on art or a significant portion of my time on interaction. So after winning a bet based off of doing a graphic design project and a UX design project, I suddenly found myself as a UX designer for Surface Tables. With very little experience in UX design.
Nice. Fake it till you make it. I love it.
Yeah. As an industrial designer, there's a lot of overlap there, so I had a good head start. But I worked at a library, fortunately, so there were a lot of books on the subject. So go figure, you just read.
Yeah.
Um,
God, Laura, I love you so much.
but-
Trust me, guys, it gets better. It's so good.
So I'm trying not to leave anything out because
I know.
I've told you the
I was
good
gonna say,
version
I'm trying
of
to,
the story.
yeah, no, I'm listening. Because this is the truth about Laura is that she is one of those people that has thought through all of these decisions and in a very intricate and very detailed way. So I'm gonna give you as much time as you need because I'm sitting here just going, okay,
It's interesting and incredible stuff. So
Yeah.
yep.
So was a UX designer for a while, working at North Carolina State University. Go Wolfpack, anyone but Carolina.
Fair enough.
For their Hunt library, they have a robot that goes and gets the books for them. And so part of my job was to figure out how to design an interface that allowed people to search for books when there's no shelves, because all the books are underground in this warehouse. And so they now they have a second version of the program. So mine is the one I worked on is no longer there, although I left before we finished it. So it was executed by the rest of my team, which they're awesome people.
Nice.
So I worked there for a while. Then I took a break and freelanced and tried to figure out whether or not I really wanted to be a UX designer or an industrial designer. Because the truth is there was a lot about UX that I did not like. And so I was working full-time at a trampoline arena.
Yeah.
And at night, I was freelancing with both sets of clients. And then one day, I saw that Epic Games had a job posting for a UX designer. I'm like, I'm like web and mobile design doesn't get me super excited.
Yeah.
Like it's meant for certain people, but I don't know if I'm one of them. But games could be a lot of fun because it's a different system of rules and it changes every time you have a game. And so, sorry, blank for a second. And so I sent a LinkedIn message to the director of usability or of UX at Epic at the time and said, hey, what do I need to do to get this job? And she told me to apply.
Yeah.
I was like, I am so not ready for this, but if she tells me to apply, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I stayed up for like a solid week doing this enormous skills test. And after sending it in, they sent me an email back saying, we're going to need a few more days to review your application. We've never had anyone send us something this intricate. So I may have gone a little overboard. But after doing all of that work, I finally got a phone call back, and I did not get the job.
Oh no.
I did not. And it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. Because in the midst of all this, I was also buying my first house.
Oh my gosh.
So trying to do a skills test and close on a house and move, it was absolutely nuts. So I went back to doing my freelance work, and that same, I guess it was about a week later, I'm up late at night drawing ellipses over and over and over again for this product for this client. And I hate sketching. I absolutely hate drawing ellipses. If you're an industrial designer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. From UX to web, I can answer that transitioning from web apps to games in a little bit. I will get to that because that's definitely a question I get asked often.
Nice.
So I was drawing these ellipses and I could not get them right, and I had a very sudden epiphany that I hate sketching and industrial designers love sketching. My husband's an industrial designer.
You're like, yep.
Yeah, they love sketching. I hate sketching. But I didn't want to do web and mobile, and it all just kind of, I'm sitting here circling. It's all going around in my head. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like web. I don't like mobile. I don't like HTML. I don't like. And I literally, I scared my cat, and my dog ran out of the room.
Sure.
I threw the marker down on the ground, and I said, no, screw this. I'm doing video games. And I handed the drawing to my husband and said, he's your client now. And I opened up Udemy, and I was like, what classes can I take? It was a very furious epiphany of this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to make it happen.
Furious epiphany. You heard it. That's the best.
So I continued messaging the director of UX at Epic Games. What can I do? What book can I read? She gave me a book. I read it, messaged her back.
Yep.
It's like, done. What's next?
Read the book.
And I kept doing this and bothering her over and over and over again.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
So then I volunteered at the East Coast Game Conference in Raleigh, North Carolina. And while I was there, I happened to run into the manager of the UX team.
How about apples?
And I was like, hey, so I've been talking to Celia a lot. I know I'm not supposed to ask this question because it's super annoying, but if you happen to have any entry-level jobs coming up, I know I have experience in UX, but I'd be willing to start over if that means I can get my foot in the door for games. Let me know. And he messaged his boss and said, hey, this woman named Laura says she's been talking to you. And she messaged him back and said, just tell her we have a research position open. So I didn't get in as a designer, but she brought me in as an observer. And my job was to sit and watch people play games in a soundproof room for hours and hours and hours and take notes on everything they did so we could identify what the trends were. So for anybody who does UX, just realize those researchers go through that painstaking work for you.
Yeah.
Be really nice to them. That's hard. Sitting in that room and just not talking and just taking all of the notes, observing, did they hit the hit points? Did they do this? Did they do that? I'm pretty sure I hold the world record for the most hours watched of people learning to use the Unreal Engine. I did a lot of research just on how can we make things or how can we improve things, or where are people messing or getting in a lot of hiccups.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was a lot of observation involved in that, and over time, the director kept putting me in front of other teams as a designer, and eventually the creative director of Paragon was like, yeah, let's have you on board. Why don't you do some UX for our UI systems? And I became a junior UX designer for games. So it was kind of a long, slow journey, which it can be frustrating sometimes if I had already had several years of experience coming in, and starting over at square one can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But I will say that my skills as a UX designer for the Surface tables and as an industrial designer, it's very different than what games involve. There's a big learning curve because you can't iterate as quickly in games. Engines are way more complicated than some web and mobile.
Sure.
So it was definitely worth taking that step back to really be able to get that new skill set that I needed to truly excel. Because once I got it, it was rapid fire forward. But so I worked in games for a little while, and then the crunch time started to happen, which that happens frequently in studios. And when you have deadlines, they have to be met. But unfortunately, not unfortunately at all, just coincidentally, during the crunch time, I also became pregnant with my daughter. And I didn't think that I could handle being pregnant and doing crunch. So I transitioned out of the games industry because I had the idea that it was going to be too difficult to do. So I started working at Lenovo, doing UX for physical products, combining my backgrounds together.
Sure.
And just a
fairly more predictable, correct? Like conducive to a new mom sort of situation.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to balance everything.
And just a little bit more easy 9 to 5. Slower paced industry. Hardware is much slower paced than when you're releasing a live game every Tuesday.
Absolutely.
It was supposed to be like a hey, focus on my family type situation. But after about 3 months, I got super antsy. I was so antsy.
All right.
I was writing research plans that we were never going to be able to execute because we don't work on the same, or like that particular industry does not work at the same furious pacing that the games industry does. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's every product has a different required cadence. And games has a much faster iteration. You guys let us know when you're upset, and part of my job is working on handling that.
Yes, absolutely. No pressure.
Yeah. And so after a few months, I started getting really antsy and kind of wanted to go back in the games industry, but I still kind of thought, I don't know if I can do this and be a mom.
Yeah.
Then I got a phone call from 343. And all I had was a 20-minute conversation with who is now my boss. And he didn't really tell me what the job was. He said, "Would you want to move to Seattle?" And I said, "I don't think so. I really want to focus on having a family right now." And he goes, "You can do that here. I'll see you in Seattle for an interview next week." And I was like, "You know what? Sure, it's a free trip to Seattle,
Well,
right?"
sure, why not? It's lovely. I like it. We like it.
So I came to my interview, and in my interview, I had 2 moms. I was there for a whole day, 8 hours of talking to people and presenting portfolios and answering questions.
Yeah.
And I had 2 different moms. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to ask the bomb question. Be like, I wanted to leave the games industry because it's not always conducive to a family environment.
Sure.
What's it like here? There's nobody else in the room. Tell me the truth.
Yeah.
What's it like here?
Yeah.
And one woman looked at me and she goes, I have 2 kids. And they were coincided with Halo 4 and Halo 5. She's like
you do.
When I needed to stay home, I stayed home because they see having a family is important here.
I like that.
She's like, I went on maternity leave, said bye guys, and then she came back and she did her job because she's amazing at what she does.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely. It was mind-blowing to me.
It seems revolutionary from your perspective.
Oh,
at the
yeah.
time, and from their perspective, it's business as usual.
Yeah.
It's useful.
And some of it is just not necessarily because people don't want you to be pregnant because it's inconvenient. Some of it is just because people just don't talk about it.
No.
They don't talk about being a parent in the industry. They don't talk about being pregnant in the industry.
No, they talk about the crazy let's lead up to launch kind of like
Yeah.
the last 3 months you're working there, you're going home for 2 hours and then coming back kind of situation. That does not seem conducive to raising another human.
Yeah.
Right from scratch. But I also like the fact that I think understandably you were taken aback by that revelation simply because, as you know, just your experience has been, and the majority of a lot of different experiences has been not great, or certainly not great, but more just like this is kind of the industry standard. You sort of pour your whole heart and soul into it.
I think everybody is so afraid to fail their game and to fail their fans that they forget to take time for themselves. And so it's like people are afraid to talk about the struggles they're having on a day-to-day basis, whether it's the crunch time or being a mom or weight gain from crunch time or the anxiety or just stress of everyday life that you're afraid to carry into the office, which we're all human.
Yeah.
So that stress doesn't magically disappear when we go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
The anxiety just increases from trying to hide it.
Yeah.
And I think the industry-wide, we're just so afraid of failing our teammates and failing our fans that we hide these kinds of things. So it was just really nice to just have a woman very bluntly tell me, I'm a mom. Like, I make games and I'm a mom. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's very hard, but we can all still do it.
Yeah.
And so I just wish that I heard more moms and dads, dear
Yeah.
heavens, fathers.
Yes.
Like more parents, everybody just talking about just the struggles that are there, because the more we talk about it, the more we can work towards solutions.
Amen.
So that interview is just like that changed my whole perspective on everything. And I think if I were to go back into a more strict crunch environment, I would just feel more confident in saying, this is what I can do as a mom. Let me help figure out how to not let my fans down and not let my team down, and ask for the help that I need, because right now I have to make a human being inside my body. And I'm trying to give a presentation to you while she was literally kicking my lungs. Like it's hard, but if we work together, we can all just move forward. It's not as big of a deal as we've been afraid that it is.
God, I love the way this is one of the many reasons I'm a big fan of Laura. You definitely bring it in. And the good news is too, is that you also have a very almost no duh kind of perspective, which is great, because I think you're right. The tiptoeing around a subject is fine for people's feelings, but it ultimately doesn't help anybody, right? And I think there's more that unites us than divides us. And if I'm to understand correctly, everyone in the gaming industry and in the world started as a small, tiny human.
Yes.
So I think we can all agree that this is something that impacts
As far as we
everybody.
know.
As far as we know. Listen, Benjamin Button, there could be you out there. I don't know. I'm willing to believe it. But I this is one of the many reasons I love. And your perspective is, of course, awesome. And I'm a big fan, obviously. Well, let's talk a little bit about about advice, because I think one of the things that you've been able to do is see the industry from a different perspective, but also, what I love about your history story is that you were very not just determined, but also specific. And sure, it took a little while. It took a couple of like little twists and turns to get to that, but you eventually figured out what you wanted, and then you went for it, and with perseverance and gusto. Which, by the way, if there's something to take away from this, that's. But talk to us a little bit about like what some of your big tips, some of your big takeaways, some of the things that if you were to tell someone just starting out or wanting to get into the gaming industry, woman or man, what were some of the things that you would give them as advice?
Okay. Well, I actually, my best friend back in Wilmington works with a theater troupe called Pineapple Shaped Lamps. Shout out to Pineapple Shaped Lamps in Wilmington. They do like a show down in Florida, SuperCon, and something that they've done in the past is like a talent show. And I can't sing or dance or act or really do any of the things that they do. I did their makeup and props, but I decided I was going to do a motivational talk.
Sure.
So, I've actually done a talk specifically on this before, and it's not just about getting in the games industry, it's getting into any of those dream industries. And what it all boils down to is when you think of the Cinderella story of being discovered, the thing people tend to forget about a Cinderella story is that Cinderella was already a perfect princess before she had a crown. She was kind, she was listening, she was gentle, she was compassionate, she took care of people who didn't care about her. Like she had what it took to be a queen and to be a princess before she ever met the prince. And so when the opportunity arose, there was no question that she was the right person. She was the right person for that prince and for that role. And so when people ask me how to get in the games industry, it's always find out what it is you want to do in the industry and be ready. Find out what so if you want to be a designer, there's a lot of types of designers in the games industry. And so do your research into what type of design. You want to do levels design, systems design. Game design boils down into several different parts. There's a narrative design as well. A lot of game developers are super willing to talk about this stuff online. They can't always talk about it in person because they've got odd hours.
Sure.
There's game developer drink ups in various cities. You can look the events up on Facebook, game developer drink ups.
Nice.
But there's a lot of people willing to give the advice that you need. Find that advice, listen to it, and become the skilled, talented, humble person,
willing to learn,
so that when the opportunity arises, they're ready for you. They look at you and see it is very clear you are the best choice for this position. And so I guess lesson number 1 was research. Research what is out there and what you think you could be good at. Lesson number 2, don't try to be something you're not.
There it is. Don't try to draw those, what is it, ellipticals? Is that a thing?
Ellipses.
That's the one. Elliptical is something you should also not be doing in a gym. That's just my thinking.
The people who contribute most to the games industry aren't the people who try to fit the mold of a perfect game designer. They're a person, like a really good system designer, thinks in the form of systems and then learns how to use the spreadsheet. You take the skills that you have already and figure out how you can apply those to games. So if you are a really good big picture person, how can you use your big picture attitude to contribute to a game studio? A lot of indie devs do a lot of that kind of work where they just take every skill they have and apply it to a particular game. So find out what you want to do, really do your research, figure out what you're good at and how you can apply that to games. Learn some new skills to amplify the skills you already have, but don't change who you are. And then start networking. Go to the East Coast Game Conference, go to PAX, go to GDC, go to these places and talk to people. And then rule number 4, the one that I actually broke, don't go in asking for a job. Please don't. Everyone wants to work in the games industry.
True thing.
But very few people actually have the determination that it takes to get there. And that's why I say you have to be Cinderella, you have to be the princess before you meet the prince. You have to be the queen before you meet the king. Or you have to be the monarch before you meet the other monarch. Gender roles, that's a different topic.
There it is.
But you have to be ready to rule before anyone will give you the power.
So that I like your thought about being ready. I like that and having yourself prepared. And I think the preparation itself is a reminder that you can. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're prepared, it means you've already done the research to discover what you want to do, what you can do, and if that becomes the thing that you're then prepared for, then at that point, tell us a little bit about perseverance, though, because I mean, the reality is that you have one of the most out of sheer force of will stories that I have heard in a while. And obviously there is, of course, that X factor that comes in, the whether you call it luck or right timing or whatever. But talk to us a little bit about perseverance, because that has to be one of the most frustrating things for people that think they're ready or certainly might even be ready. But in those times of just like, oh, good, am I possibly going to do this? In those times, how did you get through?
Well, what I realized is that what perseverance meant to me before going through this was a completely lacking definition. So perseverance does not mean bear through it when it's difficult. It means find the different angle. Find the different angle entirely. I know a lot of people who want to be concept artists who only want to do it their way.
Ooh, aha.
And I wanted to be a UX designer in games, and I only wanted to do it by starting directly on a game. That's what I wanted to do.
Gotcha.
And so what it is I want to be a UX designer in games. I am already a UX designer, and I wanted to take that straight line, and I hit a lot of barriers. And the deal is that sometimes those barriers are only this big, and you can walk around them if you are willing to look for a temporary or different way of using your skills to get toward that goal. And so that's why I contacted the researcher, because clearly I'm not a talented enough designer yet. What does a UX designer, what makes them a good UX designer?
Yeah.
And there's the amount of psychology that you learn and understand exponentially grows your skills as a UX designer, not just your design capability. And so I did continue to pursue my design capability, but I took that alternate outlet of I can grow my skills that I'm already trying to grow in a slightly different way, and that helped get me around that initial barrier of everyone wants to be a designer. Now I'm a researcher, I'm still a designer, and then when I was a researcher, I was really lucky. I got to work in the back room with the game designers, because they were observing what's going on. And so they would just start shouting out suggestions of changes they could make based off of the observations they were seeing from the studies. And I would take a good opportunity. I wouldn't come in and be like, well, I, the noob in this room, have an idea. I'd be like, so your idea of doing it this way, do you believe that there would be any concerns about using this color or that color? Because this principle states that this color might be a problem. So I understand you're going to do whatever you think is best, but I would at least offer the suggestion that maybe you investigate using this color instead.
Right. So you approached it with that humbleness that you were just mentioning, that sort of like, I know not necessarily my place, because I don't think that's the right wording, but certainly you could read the room, you could read the situation and go from there.
So, I was not a humble person when I joined the industry. I got that feedback regularly. And if you talk to many of my coworkers, they will agree. And they'll probably be laughing that I'm talking about humility on a stream right now.
I love it.
It's a skill I had to learn because I was a know-it-all brat. Definitely a know-it-all brat.
It's a problem when you're smart like you are. I wouldn't know.
I wasn't always smart. I studied under some smart people.
Look at humbleness, ladies and gentlemen. I love it.
But yeah, it's when you encounter a wall, a lot of people look at the wall and they're like, how am I going to get over this wall? Or how am I going to break through this wall? You can go around a wall. You can go along the wall, because eventually the wall ends. There's not that many bricks and it's not a circle. You can call for help. You can ask for other people to throw you down a rope.
Yeah.
Like, if you are stuck in a well and you have to get out, what are all of your different opportunities? Can you build anything? Can you take the mud at the bottom of the well and coat the slick wall until it's gritty enough that you can now have enough friction?
Yeah.
Like, be creative. And that's the same thing when you get a roadblock in your career. Stop. Look for the angles. There's always another way around it.
Yes.
You don't just have to persevere through the hard part. And that's actually a piece of advice I'll say for people getting started in the games industry. Sometimes things get so rough, they accidentally start looking over individual progress. And so sometimes you can get trapped in this entry-level type role.
Yeah.
And that's not because of any sense of disrespect. It's just because of that just happens in chaos.
Right.
It happens anywhere that there's chaos in any job role. And so if you feel like you're constantly trapped behind this wall and you can't move forward, sometimes it's just abandon that wall. Like don't let yourself feel like you need to deal with something that you're not happy with for extremely long periods of time. Sometimes you have to persevere through it, but you have to draw a line at some point in time because your skills can be used somewhere. You are valuable. Nobody is useless. I'm a firm believer in this. Nobody is useless and nobody deserves to sit at a job that they're not happy with. So learn when to draw that line and then look for another angle, look for another opportunity.
Man, I'll be honest with you, Joey, you're absolutely right. Preach.
Look for another metaphor to forget the confusion of the first metaphor.
There,
I'm going to work on that.
No,
I appreciate that.
Well, we thank you very much for that. But yes, I absolutely agree.
I'm gonna leave this stream very inspired.
I'm telling you, this is
this
the first time I met her. This is exactly the feeling, and it was like, I just want you to give a TED talk like tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is basically what she's doing, by the way. And you know what? It's all for free. You're welcome already.
Yep.
Cool.
I promise you, Gores of War, that I will work on my metaphors. I'm still relatively new at speaking on streams.
I'll tell you.
Well,
Awesome.
you're doing great.
I agree. Way the heck better than we are. So we're good to go there. But hey, actually, we've come to that part in our show where we get to actually move on.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of sad because you didn't actually get to play.
Meanwhile, Katarina's over there just focused on.
Yeah, no, I was having a blast with the game.
We were playing Hue, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you were curious. It's available on Xbox Game Pass right now, and it has to do with, Hue's
Yep.
brand. Just kidding.
Yeah, if you didn't
British
understand
joke.
exactly what was going on, you kind of collect colors as you go, and you have to manipulate colors to obviously get through levels.
Just like life.
It's a really, really good puzzle game, just like life.
It's a really fun game. You should play it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I think we're done with that.
Xbox Co-op Cat is awesome. Just want to put that out there and agree with you. 1000%.
And so we are going to go to our Snap segment. And just as a reminder, our Snap segment actually is where we highlight good people or people that are doing great things in our industry. And not only people, because the first one is actually a group of people.
It is.
So the Strong Museum in, and I'm going to get this wrong, New York.
New York?
Is it?
Is it New York?
I'm not sure.
Shoot!
So
There's a
that's
strong
my
museum.
fault. But the Strong Museum.
I got it.
Yay, nice, Kate. Thank
Keep
you.
talking and I'll find it.
So the Strong Museum is actually launching a Women in Games exhibit. This Women in Games exhibit actually contains a lot of historical pieces from the gaming industry where women were able to contribute. And they reached out to people all over the world in the US to gather all of these artifacts and things. Very similar actually to what 343 does for Halo, because you guys have a museum at your studio, which is awesome, by the way. Also, I'm very envious of your hoodie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, take a look at it, guys.
I know.
What's
I
up,
know.
Infinite?
Probably everyone will be asking, where do I get that? You can't.
It's fine. What are you gonna do?
And so it's definitely worth a visit.
Rochester, New York.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. Well done, Kat.
Yeah, I had it in the back of my mind.
You did.
Thank you for confirming.
Anytime.
And so it's really cool. You can also check more information on their website.
Yeah, museumofplay.org/exhibits.
Yep.
There you go there. And it actually says, discover the untold stories of women in the video game industry in the Women in Games exhibit at the Strong. Learn about trailblazing women and explore their accomplishments in diverse areas of video game industry. And I see there's a Cortana. There's a Cortana figurine here too.
Yeah,
so
they
I see Bonnie Ross.
Yep,
Bonnie
they
Ross is right there. Halo's all over it.
They did reach out to us, the Women in Gaming group, and all of our studios to contribute to the museum. So
brilliant.
it's really cool that everyone was all in just making this a reality. It's a
love
really
it.
good example of how the industry can come together and make something reality.
Nice.
So snaps to that.
Snaps to them. Hey, and while we're snapping, just an FYI, go ahead and hit that follow button. I honestly did not know I wasn't following just now, so I just did.
saw you hitting
Hit that follow button. I just did. Can't believe that just happened on stream. Whoopsie dudes. But you can too. Let's get ourselves. We're almost at 900 and doing that. So anyway,
Nice.
keep talking.
And so also, I don't know if you saw, I think it was around 2 weeks ago when Microsoft launched their When Everybody Plays, We All Win ads, which was beautiful. And the whole premise of the ad was to show that really when everyone is able to play, and the start of that ad was actually our adaptive controller for Xbox. When everybody is able to play, everyone can have fun, and we can all just participate in our wonderful gaming industry, which is great. I know a lot of people who teared up seeing the ad, which was emotional. I almost did.
That.
We actually have it playing. It was honestly, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful ads we've done in the past, and especially during this season when people are struggling and although it's a beautiful thing and when you can have you can be near your family and your friends and everything, it's beautiful, but there are a lot of people out there who are not able to have that experience over the holidays, and so it's for many people a hard season, but being able to see how people can come together in gaming, actually being a part of that and a way of people coming together, it was great.
Absolutely. I was just trying to double check this next one because this
I needed to speak to our next snap. So, anyways, snaps
for that. Absolutely. Snaps for that. All the feels for the holiday ad, which why not? You know, I love it. And here's one. This is the third topic that actually, I don't know if you guys watched the Game Awards. There's actually been a few different awards around gaming and esports that have happened in the last month or so. First was the Esports Awards that was actually hosted by Effie, or this person we'll talk about in a second, known as Shocks, but it's spelled with an SJ, not H, whatever. It's cool. She's awesome. Totally fine. Anyway, so we had the Esports Awards, then we had the Game Awards, and this last Sunday we had the Gamers' Choice Awards, and there were a lot of awards given for obvious reasons, and the big one was, of course, the Game Awards. That is presided by an adjudication system of really, really well-known people across the gaming industry. So there's some fun there. At any rate, this one was something I wanted to put out there, which was that out of a number of different possible best esports host nominees, Golden Boy, Paul, Red Eye, Anders Bloom, Machine. I mean, she was the only woman on that entire list of 5, and she took home the gold. So, Shocks, congratulations to you, my dear. Snaps to you. She's incredible. She does a fantastic job, especially in the MOBA scene. And she is from, I can't remember which European country she's from, but she is awesome. And she's done a great job of representing women in esports, and certainly just esports all up, regardless.
I want to say Sweden, but I am not
It's
entirely
a Nordic country of this,
Yeah.
I'm almost certain. So you're probably right. Belgium. Thank you, Taylor.
It's so good that we are able to fact check everything we say here.
So fast. So much fast fact checking.
We have a
One of the
great
many
team.
things you get here on Women in Gaming Stream.
Yep.
There you go. Obviously, yeah. But actually, this is one of those that we'll transition in now to because you can't have the good without the bad, or the not so good, maybe perhaps. And this one, this is an interesting. We'll transition into our one-ups and game overs.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about one-ups and game overs there, Catarina.
So just a reminder, the game over section is usually when we talk about things that are happening in this industry that we would like to see change or not happening again. So things that haven't been so good. But we love to talk about it to brainstorm some solutions and how can we actually avoid things that are not as good to happen again. And then we obviously do have our one-ups. So what are things that are happening around our industry that are really good and that we want to give a shout out and reinforce that positive behavior. So starting with the game overs, there was one that we did talk about prior, and you are playing Spyro. Spyro was in the news and received a lot of backlash, which is a good thing that it received backlash in the terms of like, okay, this is not acceptable. Please, developers, publishers, do think about this. So Spyro released without the option of having subtitles. And so obviously it's a problematic thing for people who are deaf and or have problems of hearing, but not only those people, like because obviously Spyro is not out in every language, so people who can't speak English or any other or any of the languages that are in the game aren't even able to to understand what's happening, because subtitles do help a lot with that. English not being my first language, I honestly, that's the first thing I do in every game I play or every show I see, because it's so much more comfortable to me to be able to play a game or see or watch a movie with subtitles on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's interesting too is that accessibility is a global thing. I'm glad you brought up the different languages. Obviously accessibility, as we know it, is we talk about people who have disabilities, who can't, who are held back by some of those things that are physical or mental or something like that. But the reality is that you're also right. There's the accessibility from across cultures, and if there's one thing that we know, it's that gaming is global. It's huge. It's massive, and it should be. And it's a beautiful equalizer. I'm just curious from a UX design perspective. What are your thoughts? And as a fan of Spyro, by the way, we're not no disrespect to Spyro. This is just something in the ether that, in fairness, you were talking about earlier. Let's keep the conversation going.
I will say the common phrase that I keep hearing over and over and over again anytime we talk about accessibility is accessibility is not an afterthought.
Like that.
Accessibility is inclusivity, and it actually enhances everything everything that we do. And I will also add that as a parent, there's no such thing as a quiet house. If there is, something's wrong. And so there's I have the subtitles on at all times because I cannot read. I cannot hear what's happening in my shows and in my games. And so the deal is that the idea of subtitles being an afterthought for going after a different market, whether it's outside of the US or if it's for people who are deaf and can't hear, it doesn't really make sense, because the same things that make the game accessible to them make it better for the rest of us.
That's true.
That's
agreed.
And so accessibility should not be an afterthought. It's an important part of the game, because what it is that side of empathy that we forget about.
Yes.
And anytime extra empathy is added to game development, the game is ultimately better.
Yep.
I love that. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the good stuff.
Yeah.
Transition into that. And of course, guys, if you ever have a question or something you'd like to talk to us about, Women in Gaming has social media and all. Is it Women in Gaming?
It's Women in
at
Gaming.
Women in Gaming.
So, both on
feel free to
Twitter
put it into the chat as well. Absolutely.
Both on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow us on the @Women in Gaming. So that's we post updates from time to time over there. And you can also know more when we go live. I actually think we didn't do it this time, but hey, when we go live here, if you need a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter, because we usually post there.
There you go. Exactly. And help us get. We're almost to 850 on the follows. So and yay for 3,200 people. Hype. Thank you so much for joining us today. One of our one-ups. Let's talk one-ups. Let's talk things that are like really I'm jazzed about. And this is the first one we all got a chance to see, which gives me all the feels, which was
it warmed my heart so
the
much.
heads of we're talking about the heads of Sony, the heads of Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, all kumbaya together, all came out on the same stage at the same you're doing exactly what I did.
Exactly.
Let's explain. If you're it's hard for people to who maybe aren't in the industry or aren't as like boots on the ground that we are sometimes, that you forget how much there is that unites us and how little there is that divides us.
Yes.
And that moment of solidarity between those three men was truly brilliant and took 5 years. Was it 5 years in the making? Jeff mentioned Jeff Keighley from the Game Awards.
And it was a symbol of the gaming industry just getting together to celebrate the games. And honestly, the thing we all love and have a passion for. So seeing the heads of some of the biggest gaming players out there.
Yeah, Sean Layden, Phil Spencer, obviously for Xbox, and Reggie Fils-Aimé from Nintendo.
So seeing them up there on the stage together in a moment where we were celebrating our industry, it meant a lot. And I love when people come together to just honestly make the world better, because that's what we're all here for. And if that's through games, cool.
It's one more thing. It's one more thing. And I think and I'm sure you can speak to this too there, Laura. Whenever you go to there will always inherently be competition. There has to be. That's actually a good thing.
Healthy.
It's healthy. We're into gaming. as I understand it, most of it is competition. But from like a professional level, going to some of these, whenever we all get together, it's the E3s, it's the GDCs, it's the Comic Cons, it's the PAXs, it's these CESs, and it's interesting because you do come face to face a lot of times with some of the people in your role in different organizations, and I keep coming back to this. There's more unites us than divides us. There's more unites us than divides us, and because the reality is that one of the things I love about gaming and talking with people like Laura, like Kat, like others in the industry is that the passion is real.
Yep.
And sometimes with the heat of competition and the way that those numbers and who bought what when and for how much, it sometimes gets lost. And at the end of the day, we're all very passionate because we get to work in a great place and a great thing.
Yes. And we all do. It doesn't matter if it's Xbox or Nintendo or Sony. Like, they're all great places to work, and we're all doing something we love.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, we're not, I don't know. I don't want to put anybody down. I'm terrible at math, so I would hate being an accountant. But, like, we're not accountants. I don't know. Like, that's not, again, there's not... Nothing against accountants. In fact, I have a lot of respect for those of you who can do math. I just can't. That sounds like nails on a chalkboard for me. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, so that was
speaking of
amazing.
GDC. Thank you. My wax poetic for the day.
But yes, speaking of GDC, Women in Gaming just announced their event date for GDC, and I will not know what the date is. So
I think I might know, but I don't think we're allowed to mention it.
We need to fact check again.
Are we going to announce?
Are we?
Can we announce that?
We announced it.
Did we announce that?
Yes. I mean, it says it right there, and I
that's
totally believe
the date for it.
Posted.
I think okay.
Are we making enemies here?
La la la.
Okay,
talk amongst yourselves.
Yes.
Oh man, there's more.
By the way, for the people, we are just saying GDC. GDC is the Game Developers Conference that happens every year in San Francisco. It's the biggest. It is. It is the biggest game developer conference.
I knew
in
it.
The world. Go.
March 19th, 2019.
There you go. So
19th annual Women in Gaming Rally.
Yep. So for the Game Developers Conference, Women in Gaming has been doing for years now. Really cool Women in Gaming Rally, where we celebrate the women in our industry. So it's a full day event since last year. It's a full day event where people are able to just come together, hear amazing speakers and panels, and have a lot of like networking opportunities with all these amazing women and men that just like are great allies for women in the gaming industry. So that will be on March 19th. We will announce the venue and more details and an agenda in the coming months. So do keep tuned in our social channels because that's where we'll share them.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, we have come to the end, friends.
No.
Laura, a huge thank you to you for coming and giving us the pep talk that I think all of us needed today on a Wednesday in the middle of December. I very much appreciate it, and we are excited that you took time out of your busy 343 design days.
Thanks for inviting me out. It was really nice to be here and to be a part of the greater women in gaming community.
And we really, and I think I'm speaking for both of us plus everyone at home, thank you so much for dropping those amazing nuggets of knowledge.
Nuggets
that
of knowledge.
I will take with me to inspire me every single day from now on.
Please write a book. Just do it, and I'll read it.
Yes.
I'll buy it for my friends.
Absolutely.
And for all the people that ever pass by my door.
It would be great.
Seriously though, please. If you could get it going in the next like week and a half or so, then I can Amazon Prime it, and it could be totally fine.
I mean, free publishing, right? So.
Yeah. Right. See how hard can that be?
So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us. We will be back next month with another episode that we'll announce soon in our @Women in Gaming social media channels. We will have a very special guest.
Hello.
Crossing fingers here.
It's fine. It doesn't hurt at all.
So make sure to also. Kid, are you okay? You're melting there.
No, you know what? I'm so pumped right now that like you can't tell with my body language, but I am pumped because Laura's here, and I'm not gonna let myself die on the mountain. It's gonna be fine.
So also make sure to click that follow button here on our Mixer channel to get a notification the next time we're live, and we'll see you on episode number 5. So another thing that we really love to do here in our show is also highlight amazing women streamers here on the Mixer. So before we leave, we do have a very special female streamer to showcase for this month. It's Geeky Lulu. So you can find her on her channel at mixer.com/Geeky Lulu. Not only is she a gamer, she's actually a very, very talented music artist as well. Check it out on her Mixer channel. And for us, it's goodbye.
Goodbye indeed. Have a happy holidays and
Bye.
do all the things you love to doing. See you later.
Hey! You got skills?
Oh, I got skills!
What kind of skills?
I got skills that thrill, chill, ill, and pay the bills, Will.
My name's Greg.
Well, that doesn't rhyme, so. Engage in your favorite streams with interactive skills like cool animated stickers, GIFs, and effects. Only on Mixer.